And awesome. Hello, everybody, wherever you may be in the world. Welcome to G100 Oneness and Wisdom and our monthly Rejuvenation Fest. It is already June. I don't know if you can believe it, but it's the perfect time, the middle of the month, the middle of the year, not the middle of the month, to really start thinking about, okay, where am I? Where am I going? What have I accomplished? What have I not accomplished? And whenever we go into things like that, there's something crucial where we go into trying to be wise about what we have done, trying to be wise about what we will do. And we keep separating ourselves from that process because we're trying to be logical or analytical. So, in other words, is there any kind of wisdom in oneness? And that's a question that Jennifer is going to attack for us, is going to touch upon for us, is going to talk about with us. And I'm using three different words because all of them have different meanings. So, Jennifer, I'm not going to introduce you big. Everybody knows who you are, and I'm just honored to be here with you. So, welcome, first of all, Jennifer. What are your thoughts on the wisdom of oneness?
Thank you very much, Natalie. And I'm glad that you didn't have to say who I was. Hopefully, everybody will know. And then I also said that there's no way that we need to carry on saying who we are from a designation perspective, because for
Yeah.
me, everyone is one, literally. Okay, and each one of us brings amazing insights into how we show up. But I'd like to actually address what it is that oneness, the wisdom of oneness actually is. And it's more about, have you ever seen how amazing your body is? Your
Mm.
body operates with different systems, right? So we have the circulatory system, we have the respiratory system, so many different systems functioning totally independent of themselves. And yet, all of the systems really create us having a body, right? So it's a brilliant example to actually show that that is actually what oneness could actually be. So we all have different systems in our body operating independently, and we are just enjoying whatever it is that shows up. Now, the one place, and that's what it is I've seen, the one place that actually causes all the confusion and separation is the way that we're thinking, okay? Because we are
Hmm.
actually constantly wanting to be right, or we want to have a very strong point of view about something, and that is the way it should be, and it must be, and is the right way, and everything is wrong if we are not maintaining our point of view. The only thing, restriction that I have seen, and in my personal life,
Mm-hmm.
and if we were to actually look into it, we will actually see how many times we are wanting so badly to maintain our point of view. And that is what creates all the confusion. So, my question to everyone here is, would we be okay to try and not be stuck in our head all the time? Because, as many people must have heard and learned, God knows I have, is like the mind is a dangerous master.
I like
Okay?
that, yes.
The mind is a dangerous master, and you have given permission for it to actually run your life. But what if you took back the reins from the mind and truly be present in your daily life? What would that look like? What will that actually look like? So, I'm not going to be here to actually give you all answers. Okay. That's not how I operate. My job has always been to ask questions so that you may come to your own awareness and how it is that this conversation can actually help you become aware and choose something that is going to be different because we all have a choice. Okay. And it's about time that we actually gave it a voice. Okay. So then the body is there. We've got the body operating brilliantly. The only thing that stops us, if we were looking at our body and we're looking at how we are operating in the world, have you noticed how much of the mind comes in? Does your mind actually play tricks with you? Can the mind be used in a lucrative manner? That's what it is that we're wanting to talk about. How can we use our mind in a way that actually facilitates us to be grander versions of ourselves and not judge other people?
That is a crucial question. And then you just added the one thing, right? You just said, and not judge. And it always starts, I think, you tell me what you're thinking, with us already judging ourselves, because you started out talking about the body, right? So
Mm,
when we look in the mirror, do we judge ourselves right then and there? And do we carry
totally.
judging from there?
It's constantly the whole our whole operating system is based on judgment, and
Mhm.
it starts with judging ourselves. We are not good enough. We are not strong enough. We are not capable enough. And my question to everyone is that even true? Or did you buy into it? Was it someone else's point of view that you bought into? The question over here is, how is it affecting you right now?
Mhm.
And for these conversations, Natalie, I think it is very necessary for us to be vulnerable enough to actually ask those questions.
Mhm.
When I'm saying that, I have been a misfixit for the longest time ever. Okay. And I'm talking about this because there's nothing to be ashamed of.
Right.
I had to actually recognize where I was not allowing anything other than who I was and what I was thinking was had to be right. Okay.
Mhm.
And what did it create? It created a fight within me.
Mhm.
And it got me sick because I was maintaining how it is that I had to be.
Right.
Now, many people will not even want to talk about these things because it's a question of how will people look at you? You're a failure. For me, this failure, which happened in 2012, totally actually propelled me into what it is I do today by being the invitation for myself to be more than what I was yesterday.
Mhm.
Okay? Because we are not stagnant, and we all know that change is constant. I actually added to that, but changing is a personal choice.
Of course it is. Yes.
But the
Yes.
thing is, how many of us are vulnerable enough to truly choose to actually be that for ourselves? Because when we are that for ourselves, that's what oneness is within ourselves.
Mhm.
Because if we are not in line with ourselves, if we are not authentic with ourselves, if we are not celebrating ourselves and even laughing at ourselves, how many of us actually laugh at our own mistakes?
I
I
do.
do.
I mean, not
Okay.
always. Don't get me wrong. Not always, but you know.
No, but it okay. The immediate reaction would be, "Oh my God, something's wrong." Okay, and
Mhm.
then it's like, "Oh goodness, if I had actually done it a different way, it might be actually fun." So we've got to actually be vulnerable enough to actually allow those things to show up. Laugh at yourself because if you don't laugh at you, then you will feel upset if other people laugh at you. But if you've already laughed at yourself, what happens is you're already tuned, and then you actually can have fun with other people. We have lost the element of joy and fun in our reality because everyone is so serious and wanting to carry on being the kind of person that has to be perfect. There is nothing called perfection, ladies and gents, out there, if you're listening, because what you were yesterday was yesterday. What you can be today is up to you, for you to choose. So, what are you allowing yourself to actually come into and actually allow yourself to not refuse, but to choose? that will actually make you more one with you. Okay? You've got to be more one with you. But what and why am I saying that? We have been involved with G100 in the Oneness and Wisdom wing. Okay? But before we came into Oneness and Wisdom, the wing per se, and when we were approached to actually join this wing, the one beautiful thing that I got was actually being introduced to this amazing woman, Dr. Harbin Arora Rai, who is the founder of this amazing movement. And I call it a movement. And what Dr. Harbin has always said, and I truly resonate with that, is like she has always said that we are here to come together, to create together. We rise together, we thrive together. And those are the kind of things that she has said that inspires me to be, now I'll say, the global chair of Oneness and Wisdom. But she has actually created this amazing movement for all of us to actually come together. And it's not only women, but she's invited men to join in, to support the women in actually making our whole world more aligned to working with men and women coming together. So we're here to actually create a different space of operating. And that is what I love about this movement that Dr. Harbin Arora Rai has created. And it's more about how can we show up as being totally different and not just, operating with status quo. I remember having a conversation with her once, and she said, Jennifer, could you write something about, something? And I said, okay, sure, Dr. Harbin, why not? And the one thing that I wrote, and she celebrated me for that, was very, very cool of her to do that. I wrote that we are not here to actually fix people. We are not here to find fault with people. We are not here to actually try and tell people that you're wrong and I have all the answers. God, no, we're not here to do that. We are, however, to become aware of everything. It's our job to be aware of everything. We're not here to fix broken things. We are to be aware of all the things. And what we need to do is to actually create new pathways, to out create status quo. That is what helps us to learn, to come together, and to create more. I think that is what is so essential and necessary. What do you think, Natalie?
I could not agree more. And of course, a question popped into my head right away, not just one, but two or three. Um,
Okay.
because one of the things that I have found is that I agree with the way that you're saying, change is a choice and change is something that is necessary if we want to change the status quo. At the same time, I have noticed the older people get, generally speaking, the less they want to change. I mean, the less
You're right.
they are able to change because they say they want to. Like, I can think of a few people, they want to change and they say they're working on themselves and they're trying to implement this and they're doing this.
Mhm.
And then they have limits where they say, I will not go further than this. And to me, it's always so funny because when we're kids, we're changing all the time. I mean, we're changing our clothes, we're changing things all the time. But when it comes to this up here, it's like we've learned to maintain a certain status quo. And it's really at times difficult to encourage people to step out of it, to empower them to step out of it, and to engage with them if they're stuck. Because I don't want to help them maintain in a state of stuckness.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there. But the question over here is, and I think this should be a question to everyone who's listening now
Mm-hmm.
and in the future, and it is this. If you can recognize that whatever it is that you've been doing up until now, has it worked for you?
Mm-hmm.
Is it working for you? Okay. So, and if you see that you're stuck and not having any luck, then
Yes.
also recognize that it is coming from a space of you not being aware of what it is that is actually keeping you stuck. So that's when
Mm-hmm.
people are to actually look at things and be more present with what is going on, simply because if we were to just ask those questions of ourselves, is this working for you now? Okay. Very, very necessary, because most of the time we are adopting, or we're picked up
Mm-hmm.
our parents' points of views, our society's points of views, our cultural points of views. And all it does is to, then we have to hold on to those, because we
Mm-hmm.
think that we have to be like that, because we're trying so hard to fit in,
Right.
okay? To be accepted, to be
Oh,
acknowledged, to be validated.
yes.
Okay. So is the validation really helping you? Because if you're not being validated, then who are you? That's
Mm-hmm.
how we're thinking all the time. So the question over here is, please ask yourself, is this actually working for me right now? If it is not, ask another question. What else is possible here that I haven't even considered yet? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Please do not expect to have answers. We keep looking for answers all the time. What you should be looking for is awareness. What is going on? Is this working for me, or is this not working for me? And if it's not working for me, what else can I be doing differently? We are so attuned to not wanting to change,
Mm-hmm.
because we are constantly maintaining that what we're doing is the right way, the only way, the perfect way, and there is no other way.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that is what it is that's creating all the confusion. And I'm saying all of these things, ladies and gents, whoever's listening,
Yeah.
I'd love for you all to really consider this, because if we can authentically be vulnerable with ourselves, it is incredible what kind of shift and change can actually happen in our
Mm-hmm.
world. Because that is what it is that impacts our world. The wisdom of oneness will come in only when we are going to be okay with being ourselves, okay?
Yes.
Not judging ourselves, not finding fault with ourselves. Now, the amazing part is this: if we can stand up tall in what it is that we truly believe as being
Mm-hmm.
authentic,
Mm-hmm.
it is so good for us to look at how is it that we can actually maneuver. We have to learn to maneuver, not
Right.
coming into a conclusion, oh, this is who I am. No, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry. It's like when you're inhaling, you take in breath, and you also have to exhale. You don't hold your breath and say, this is it,
Right.
right? Why can't we live our life that way? Is the question that I'm asking. And it may seem
Yeah.
very, very inconsequential, ladies and gents. But believe you me, if we were to actually live our life, that's why people say, can we do some breath work?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can we meditate? What is that all about? It is all about trying to connect with you. If you're not connected with you, how are you going to be connected with other people? I think there was a question that I saw is, why is it
Yes. Yes.
harder for people to change as they grow older? Because if I may answer that,
Yeah.
Raida, thank you for asking that question, Raida. Um, it is so important to actually look when we it's almost like if you look at your muscles. Okay, and I'm going to take us back into our body, right? If we look at our muscles, and then we are sitting constantly and we are not moving, what happens to our muscles? They get a bit rigid, get a bit stiff, right? That's exactly what's happening with our mind, because we have for the longest time maintained those points of views. They've solidified and do not allow us to actually move anywhere, because we have not got any other way of thinking, any other way of contributing, any other way of actually associating with ourselves. Because as we grow older, we tend to hold on to what we think is the only way, the best way, and the possible way. So if our body is stiff, what do? we flex it, right? We flex our muscles, right? The same way, why can't we use our mind to flex it? And I'm not asking you to go outside and tell people, tell me something's wrong with me. No, don't do that. Ask yourself this question. Is this way of operating actually working for me? And if it is not, what can I do about it? Are you vulnerable enough to ask for help, even if you're old? I know I did. I was 40 and I was in my way. And I asked that question of myself because it's difficult to ask those questions. I get it. It's difficult to ask those questions because you think you have to have all the answers. But if you don't, you're not capable, you're not strong, you are useless, you are absolutely a failure. But I'd rather fail in the way that I was operating than to fail in the way I could go forward. The question is, are we willing to go forward by being one with ourselves, which actually impacts everyone else around us? Which comes to the next part. Is this way of operating actually going to constitute a different world that we live in? If you just look at that for a moment.
Before you
What?
go down that road, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Because I love the examples that you're bringing, and I'm thinking about some people who like are in pain, and some people and Rita, some people, if the pain is too hard to move your hands, you won't move. You will have somebody else put things on you, right? And then you get into victimhood. And so you mentioned, are you vulnerable enough to ask for help, which is an important question. I'm wondering, is it vulnerable, or could we also say, are you courageous enough to ask for help?
Good point. Their perceptions, you see,
Yeah.
everything that how we perceive things. And when I
Yes.
talk about vulnerability, I talk it from the perspective of our perception.
Mm-hmm.
If we are in pain and if we are holding on to something, then it's vulnerability that we actually we need to actually operate from.
Mm-hmm.
If we have come to the awareness that, oh God, something really needs to change, and we ask for help, that is being courageous, Natalie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So many people have to actually shift out of that. Uh,
Yeah.
way of the prison. We've imprisoned ourselves into
Mm-hmm.
actually not being able to ask for help. And
Right.
the one thing that I get is that most of the time we are not asking for help is because we are embarrassed as to what people will think
Mm-hmm.
of us.
Yes.
I'm supposed to have all the answers. I'm supposed to know what's supposed to be right. No, I don't have all the answers. That's why I have these amazing country chairs in G100 Oneness and Wisdom who actually
Yeah.
make me look good.
And
Okay.
you make us look good, so it's all good.
And you see, it takes two hands to
Mm-hmm.
clap, it takes two to tango, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, how is it that we can actually be that within ourselves and then we can be the contribution to everyone else?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has skills, abilities, and capacities. The
Mm-hmm.
question here is, are we allowing ourselves to really tap into that?
Mm-hmm.
Are we wanting to be that shift and that change within us? Because quite honestly, it's not about look at me, look at me, look at me. It's nothing got to do with that at all. It's about this is me, this is how I am, and what can I do, and who can I be, and what can I say that will support you? Which
Right.
takes us to the other very important part, Natalie, is
Mm-hmm.
have you noticed how much our world is constantly into competition?
Oh God, yes.
Okay. Is it something that is empowering us? Is it something that is making us? I mean, is it working for you? Forget about anything else. Does competition. So now, if someone is doing something, you've got to be better than them. My question is if you were to conserve all your energy to truly become a master within you, okay, enhance you, get to know who you are, And it's not about you don't have to do everything, please. Essentially, please find out what are your innate capacities, abilities, and skills. And if you don't know, ask somebody for help. Okay.
Mhm.
For you to recognize that. Once you recognize that, what occurs is that you then become this embodiment of this amazing skills, abilities, and capacities. And it actually radiates from you, and you talk about it, and you become it, and then you work with it. Now, once if everyone was to awaken to their own brilliance, can you imagine what kind of difference that would create in our world? Literally.
Mhm.
Okay?
Mhm.
So that's one aspect. So now, instead of competing,
Mhm.
what if we were to actually recognize and share with people what it is that we're really good at? So essentially, if you are good in operations, Natalie, and I was good in being the visionary or
Right.
whatever, I would not have the capacity or the ability to actually get all the nitty gritty done
Yes.
because that's not my forte at all. And I will not be ashamed to say it's not my forte because it isn't. Okay. That's why I would come to you and say, Natalie, would you please help me? Now, are we able to ask for help? That is one aspect. Would it make me vulnerable or would I need to be courageous?
Mhm.
Okay. Secondly, if you were to say, Jennifer, I can do this, 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 and this, then would you be completing the vision that I have by sharing it and helping me to actually do what it is that we're doing right now?
Mhm.
You get it?
Mhm.
So we have
Mhm.
amazing people within our country chairs who are so awesome at actually doing things that we are not here to actually compete, but to
Right.
complete one another. And Ryder puts it beautifully,
Yeah.
collaboration, not competition, which is true. So, how many of us, instead of going me, are being the resonance of what it is that we're all about? And we
Mhm.
give an opportunity to everyone to talk about it in any case, right? We have this
Right.
amazing conversation that we have on our podcast, the G100 Oneness and Wisdom. We have everybody knows what everyone is doing. Is everyone happy with that? Or are we trying to hide behind that? Or are we trying to force someone to like us? No, we don't need to do that. All I'm saying is if the whole world was to operate from a space of
Mhm.
what can I be that will contribute to you? If you were to ask this one question, who can I be that will contribute to you? How can I contribute to you? And if I don't know, and I'm not what it is that you would like, I'm sorry. Be honest enough to say, I'm sorry, this is not something that I can do. But let me
Mhm.
find out someone else who could do it.
Yeah.
So if we are going to be operating from that space, that in itself will actually impact our world. That is coming from a space of oneness and wisdom. All of us have within us the skills, the abilities, and capacities. The question over here is, are we willing to recognize that? And if we are feeling, vulnerable or not sure, can we ask for help? Because we don't ask for help most of the time. We think we have to have all the answers, which is something that I don't think is helping anybody. Okay.
So, got a follow-up question for you.
Sure.
Because you know that I'm pretty much in alignment with what you're saying. And before we went live, you also mentioned the term receiving. And while you were just talking, I've been thinking about it. So if you have a group of people who all do something amazing and they share it with each other and everybody says, great, sometimes the engagement from others is lacking. Okay. And that can be because they're not interested. It can be because they're happy for you. I sometimes wonder if it has to do with our ability to accept or to see the opportunities and to be courageous enough to take the opportunity. Let's take this Rejuvenation Fest. There are many people who can participate, And some do and some don't. And maybe it's the time that it's not good at, et cetera, et cetera. And so I'm wondering, does it also have to do with receiving the accolades of being in the limelight, receiving the opportunity, the openness to receiving, I think, is, or accepting and seeing the possibilities of being highlighted or being empowered without competition and without having to give something in return. You know what I mean?
Very good question. Extremely awesome. Let me just talk about this in a way that might help people. Now, there are many people on the planet, and many people have different ways of contributing. Like I would not personally, I would not like to be in the limelight ever. Okay,
Me too.
okay, okay. And the weirdest thing is that we would always be required to be over there. Okay, so I have to make myself actually feel comfortable with being on camera. I don't like to be on camera. Okay, personally, but I am here, and I have no judgment of myself and how I show up. Okay, I had to actually build that muscle. Okay, because being the, as Ryder said, being the old person, not wanting to shift and change, I had to change that, Ryder, just for your information. Okay, thank you for bringing that up. But having said that, we have some people who are camera shy. Okay, who would not like to show up on camera. But again, it is about, can you say that you're not comfortable? You see, you have to be brave enough to say it. Don't let someone assume, because we all know what assume means, right? And I don't want to actually say it out loud here, but it is making a,
Yeah.
but that's what it is. We've got to actually consider this. Why would you assume that somebody would know? I don't know. So if you don't tell me, how would I actually say, okay, fine, you're not comfortable doing this. Maybe you could do this. You could be part of a team of this. You can actually do that. But we all have to be able to open up. Don't restrict yourself. There's certain things that you would love to do. There's certain things that you would not like to do. And it's okay. Because if everyone was doing the same thing, we would not be actually contributing. We'd be then competing. You know what I'm saying? But we already have that. We all are different. We all are unique. And it's that uniqueness that actually creates the different possibilities of us contributing to one another. So it's identifying about your uniqueness. What makes you unique? What brings you joy is what you must employ as yourself. Okay? Very necessary.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Radia says we're both doing great. Thank you very much.
But it is funny, you and I were both now here, and both of us, we prefer to be in the spotlight and be doing all the, not in the spotlight, be doing all the background, putting other people up front. I think we are one enough with ourselves. I'm going to just claim that we also understand sometimes we have to do what is uncomfortable to follow our mission, to help the world, et cetera, et cetera. So, you empower others. We empower, hopefully, others to also do this. And sometimes there's a learning curve, obviously. I mean, I don't know how often I've bombed at events like this, or the technology doesn't work and then it doesn't work. But the other thing that you mentioned is the competition piece, and the oneness. And while you were talking, I'm going to bring in the fact that you are also, the Maverick CEO and you've worked with companies. So it seems to me that officially in companies, we have the SWOT analysis, right? Strengths, weaknesses, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And some coaches, some mentors do that in their own programs as well. But when we're with ourselves, are we vulnerable enough to really look at that and then share that, as you pointed out? Or is that for the business and not for us as humans?
but this is the part that I love to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that we actually separate ourselves from being in business and being a person? I mean,
Yes.
okay, it's ridiculous. You're
Mm-hmm.
the same
Mm-hmm.
person at home and you're the same person going to work. Can you imagine how much of energy is depleted with you trying to maintain a facade here and a facade there? Why
Yes.
can't we be one there? You know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
again, brilliant, brilliant observation, Natalie. Thanks for that. Why can't we be just honest with ourselves? We don't have to pretend
Mm-hmm.
because every time that we pretend, our pretense gets intense. Okay. And when there's intensity in the pretense, then we have to try and look for things and try and, oh my God, what do we have to do? How do we have to please?
Mm-hmm.
So I think both of us come from a space that instead of being outward and trying to figure things from the outside in, trying to make what everybody else expects of us to be
Mm-hmm.
who we are, we've got to reverse this now
Yes.
and actually choose to step into our own power and potency
Mm-hmm.
to work from the inside out because it is much, much easier to actually do that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Paul
Yeah.
says to connect, Jennifer. Okay,
Yeah.
I like that.
And also, Nicole agrees. Hi, Nicole. Now, I think we also talked a little bit about what we have in the world that we live in, right? So,
Mhm.
what am I creating around me with all this judgment? When I complain about not having enough friends, am I creating this? We talk about the idea, the outside mirrors the inside. Can you address that a little bit?
I think that's an awesome, awesome question. So you want to know why you don't have friends, okay? Or why I don't have friends, or anybody else out there.
Yeah.
First and foremost, how much judgment do you have of you that does not allow anyone to show up for you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's number
Mm-hmm.
one. Number two, how much how much of rejection have you already done of yourself that it becomes a reflection for other people to see? Like, let's not go there. She's dangerous. Probably that's what's happening. And I like to bring humor into our conversations because I think we are so wrapped up in wanting to get it right that we are constantly in a fight to be right. Okay. So let's disperse the being right all the time and let's get, uh, you know, hang loose for a little bit, seriously, because we don't have fun. We're not having fun otherwise. Okay. And I told the people, with our wisdom, can we have some fun? Because now, how many of us actually laugh at ourselves? When you
Yeah.
have made a mistake, how many of you laugh? Can all of you put in the chat over here so I can see that I'm not the
Mhm.
only weird person here? You laugh at yourself when you make mistakes. Can
Yes.
I have a yes from all
Yeah.
of you who are actually listening? Do you
Yeah.
laugh
We're
at
getting
yourself?
there. We're getting there. Yeah. Let's see.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many of you actually laugh? Now I'm going to ask some questions to help us to get out of our own way.
And while you're
Because
doing
that's
that,
fun.
I just want to show this post real quick.
Okay.
So I think she was
This
just
is
pointing out
Rebecca.
how, yeah,
Rebecca.
yeah, how much she's learning right now. So it's all awesome. Yeah,
Okay, thank you,
yeah.
Rebecca.
Mm-hmm.
I'm quite sure that you already know this and you're doing a remarkable job around the world. And thank you for
Mm-hmm.
being with us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you have not learned to laugh at yourself, that would be the first thing on your agenda to do immediately. Map out, write down how many places that you have made mistakes. And you remember the amazing conversation you had about mistakes a couple of these things back? And I've
Mm-hmm.
actually said that in one of my other podcasts, and I've referred to you as learning something from you, okay, about the mistake. Okay, we'll come back to that a little later. But how many of you actually make mistakes? Write them down, what mistakes you've made, and then laugh at yourself. Do this as an exercise, please.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were talking to Natalie in one of our other sessions, what Natalie mentioned was really cool because we were talking about disrupting status quo. That's where we can learn and grow.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
what you mentioned was something that was remarkable. It was like when you're making a movie,
Oh, yeah.
okay, and you actually are not doing it perfectly, then you have to retake. So it's a mistake and you have to retake. So
Mm-hmm.
how many cases are we making a mistake and retaking? Or are we concluding that this is the mistake, this is who we are, khalas, nothing can be done about it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how many cases are we actually doing that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, we have
Yeah.
Nicole that says sometimes initially, depending on what it is, I might be upset, but yes, I end up laughing. Exactly. The
Yeah.
first instance is you being really upset and be okay with that. 100% be upset. But then after that, can he look at you and say, that was really crazy? Come on, let's try and do it differently. Okay. But again, to be different would be for you to actually choose something different,
Mm-hmm.
not refuse, but choose, as I said earlier. Okay. Now, some of the things that I believe that we all could actually partake of is number one, and this goes when we can do this for ourselves, we can actually do this for everyone else too, or for everyone else too. And I call it, this is our operating system within G100. I call it our methodology. So it might help. It's actually designed on the premise of the Elegos framework, which means it's an acronym encapsulating common themes globally as levers for gender equality and empowerment. And some of them are education, legislation, leadership, empowerment, and governance, ownership, security, sustainability, solidarity, and equality. These are some of the 10 principles. But what we have derived from that, that really embarks on how we actually show up, is engagement. It's about actually connecting, communicating, and finding out more about each other. How many of us actually do that? Something to actually look at. Encouragement. After we have engaged and found something about somebody, do we encourage as to what it is? Are we encouraging them? Are we encouraging ourselves to actually ask questions as to how may I support you? What can I do for you? This is what I do. Is there anything that you need help with? Because once we've found out about somebody and they're not being able to do something, who and what can we be to encourage them to actually be and do something different? Okay. The other one is in education. We've got team members from across, and this goes for everybody across the world. What is education? Education is to be able to draw out from people what they already know and help them to articulate it so they can create with it, so they can facilitate everyone else with it. Okay. But education is something that we have, and it is about team members that come together to share their expertise that form a multitude of skills and abilities that assist other people. So education is something cool. The other one that we do is enablement. We've got systems. We're creating systems and procedures and processes to make the education and the engagement even more powerful. And what we are here to be and do differently as G100 Oneness and Wisdom is we are to enhance, help in the enhancement. We facilitate, where possible, others to achieve creating programs and a way to share them. So we are doing all of these things, and those are the different methodologies that we have adopted as G100 Oneness and Wisdom. Have we reached there? No, not yet. Are we working towards it? Definitely are. Do we have amazing people who have joined us to help us to facilitate that and sharing of their time? We are totally grateful for that. And the question is, once we are in that space, will we be a platform and a movement that truly helps other people to be in the space of oneness, that we will actually create a world that we would really like to live in? Are we going to have fun? I've got a couple of anecdotes that I'd like to share, Natalie, as I told you.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay, a couple of things that I have found to be extremely useful, and this is one of them, is wherever your attention goes is where your energy flows. So if you're constantly thinking about worrying, guess what? You're going to create more worry to worry about. If you're going to be in fear, and the acronym for fear is false evidence appearing real. So, what are you fearful of? Of yourself? Of something that might happen? It's false evidence appearing real. So, focus on that. Where is it that your attention is going? Because that's where your energy will flow. And every time your energy flows into the direction. Now, imagine this. If you're worried about something that still hasn't occurred, what is happening to your energy? It's flowing towards that, which is incapacitating you to create a resolve or to actually step into creating something different or something new. So please focus on those things. Focus your energy on what will create more for you, what will add value to you. Okay. The other one that I have is if you're not laughing at yourself, you'll not become a Zen master. Because if you're not laughing at you, you haven't grown. Have you looked at a kid ever? They fall down, they brush themselves out, and they stand up tall. What if we were to do the same thing? We fall. Are you falling into failure? Or are you falling into actually becoming something greater? When you become something greater, would you be able to contribute to the world? That's a question for everyone. The other one is this: what's fun for you that you haven't even thought of right now? What's fun for you? What makes you laugh? Natalie, I'm asking you, what makes you laugh?
What makes me laugh? Where do I
Yes.
start? So it's movies with animated characters, my
Okay.
daughter,
Mm,
animals in general, observing people, observing myself, seeing my cats,
mm.
um, and then whatever happens in the spur of the moment.
Cool. Because I like to laugh at anything possible. I think I'm a champion at laughing at myself. I've mastered that.
But no competition, right?
No competition. None at all. Okay. So the question over here is, how many of you really enjoy what you do? How many of you really enjoy what you do? Or are you doing it because other people expect that of you?
Hmm.
Because if you're not enjoying what you do, why are you doing it? Okay. We have some comments coming in.
Yeah.
Let's see if there's any questions. We've got Rebecca. Keep your
She's
focus on
just,
the
yep.
positive and what you wish to achieve, and you will see how your energy works in your favor, which is true.
Hmm.
Wherever your attention goes is where your energy will flow. That's it.
Hmm.
Absolutely. So now,
And
um,
earlier, I'm not sure how to pronounce her name, Chiqui. When you were talking about the ease, she was also
um,
adding empathy to it.
brilliant. Absolutely awesome. Thank you very much. Is it Chicky Garcia? Thank you for
Mhm.
that. Wonderful. Now, I would like you all to ask any questions that you may have so that we can address them. Both of us can, because all of us have got unique abilities and skills. I think Natalie and myself have come in. If we, we can't actually fit 52 people on the screen, unfortunately, because you've got 52 country chairs and all of them are brilliant
Yes.
um, and resilient and actually are the embodiment of what oneness and wisdom is. And when we come together, we shake up the world to get out of status quo, to create
Yes.
way more. Any questions from anyone?
Oh,
Feel
well,
free.
yeah. While there are some comments and questions probably coming.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned earlier, and we hear this a lot, that when entrepreneurs come together, we've been taught a lot about intellectual property, right? This is
Yes.
my idea. I came up with it. Maybe I trademark it, I register it. So there are a lot of people who are, I think there are a lot of people in my experience, there are a lot of people who are afraid to share their intellectual property, or to provide ideas because they think you're going to steal it, which is, of course, a competition idea. And it took me personally a long time to say, you know what, I've shared it because I always share. It's like one of my, vulnerabilities I love to share. And then later on, they're using it. And I'm like, but I've learned that then it doesn't work for them because it's not their original idea. What are your thoughts on that? Intellectual
I think
property.
it's absolutely true and spot on. You see, this is what requires for us to be aware. Okay, so I've had many ideas of mine taken away, and
Mhm.
because I'm not technically savvy. The people who are technically savvy could actually take it, create something with it, and spread it out, and that's
Mhm.
okay. But you're right when you say that it may not work for them the way, because it's not coming from a space of authenticity.
Mhm.
It's coming from a space of lack and limitation, which does not create a creation, but it's an imitation. So
Mhm.
the same energy, the same flow, the same consciousness that has to need to go out there doesn't really help them to create what they may have a bit of here and there, but it's
Mhm.
not coming authentically from them.
Mhm. Mhm. And Rebecca had a question.
What would you recommend for those who don't know how to have fun? We can teach them how to have fun, Rebecca. What can you do to teach them? Okay, very, very simple. I'm going to pass. You see, with me, it's not about answers; it's about asking a question. So, what can you do to facilitate fun? Okay,
Mhm.
I have, and Rebecca, you and myself have spoken before on this, and I'm going to actually say this. What Rebecca actually suggested is that instead of having very serious conversations all the time, which is necessary, of course, in this world, we can also have fun parties.
Yes.
We can actually have fun events. We can actually have virtual parties. So,
Yes.
Rebecca, I'm going to actually suggest, because you have suggested that to me, to share that here with the world, is to have virtual parties. How many of us are only thinking of working and not enjoying? And
Mhm.
why must it be so serious?
Yeah.
Ryder says you had a good
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. And
I will
Rebecca
do it.
says she will do it. Yes. And that's actually, Rebecca, that's actually a great idea. With a different group that I was part in, we did that. Like, every months or so, we would have an online bring your own beverage sort of event where, and usually we would say something like, it is, I don't know, like in October or September, whenever breast cancer awareness month is, bring something pink. And then everybody would have something like, I have my pink pen. And then we would talk about that, and we would just hang out and talk about fun stuff. So I think that is a wonderful idea. And we also then have to accept, tolerate, understand if some people don't want to participate in that. You know?
Each to their own, ladies, each to their own. Again, it's not a reflection of you. Please don't take it personally. Nobody should. If people would like to participate, you're most more welcome. I mean, I sent out information to people to participate, and thank you everyone who's actually
Yes.
here.
Thank you.
Truly, truly honored to have you with us, because your questions and your suggestions and your recommendations really help us to be grander versions of ourselves, because we are not here to limit ourselves. We're here to outcreate ourselves, to create new pathways. And that's what oneness and wisdom is here to be and do differently, is that we are not here to criticize. We are not here to actually find fault with anybody. We are here to truly uh, become aware, because I think
Mhm.
being consciously aware is so necessary. It is not about finding fault with anybody or trying to fix somebody, because no one is broken, ever.
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
What we're here to do and be is different, is to actually become aware of what's going on, and then creating new pathways so that we can outcreate the status quo. so all of us can learn, grow, explore,
Yeah.
and actually be more, do more, and have more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's what it is. Rebecca says, I love
Yeah.
organizing events to bring everyone together. I know that, dear. And are we going to be using you, lady?
Yes. We'll just do it together. All of us are just putting our heads
Yeah.
together, and yes, it'll be awesome.
I
Yes.
think that's one of the most essential things. And we are, as the G100 Oneness and Wisdom Wing, I think we have actually embodied what it is we're talking about today as the oneness and wisdom that we bring that truly impacts the world. And as they say, even if 20% of 30% of us actually are involved, but then we have the 70% cheering us on
Yes.
for us to actually inform the world of what else is possible. So thank you very much, ladies. I think we're coming up to the hour. Any more questions? Rebecca has got something that she says, and Nicole has got something.
Yeah. Oh, thank
Beautiful.
you.
We are totally grateful for your sweet
Yes.
comment.
Yes.
And
And we have,
exemplify the true essence. So thank you. Nicole says, fun is necessary.
hmm And she
Bravo.
was also saying before different things appeal to different people. So true. Yeah.
Yeah, again, different strokes for different folks. We said that, right?
Yes.
So the essential
Yes.
part is,
Yes.
are we engaging enough to figure out what turns people on? What actually puts the switch on and goes, oh, wow, that's the spark. What can I do
hmm
with that spark? Because that's what I do when I look at all of you amazing women. And when I'm getting more people to come and join us, it's like, oh my God, like yesterday, we had somebody that I was speaking to, and this lady is into poetry and into fashion.
Mm.
And I said to myself, wow, what an amazing combination. I
Yes.
said, I've got someone who's doing fashion and I've got someone who's doing poetry, and both of you can get together. And then she said, my mother is from Angola and my father is from another place. And I said, oh my God, we have Eva. She's from
hmm
Angola.
hmm
So connecting the dots, which is what it is that we'd love to be doing. So
Yeah.
connection is the name of the game. Getting to understand what it is that we all are doing, that we exemplify ourselves in, connecting with one another, co-creating with one another, curating different programs that will facilitate for the rest of the world, and actually celebrating one another, which is the most important thing. Cheering everyone on and how it is that we actually show up. Because it's not about me and I and look at me, look at me. It is about when we show up,
hmm
we become the amazing creation that other people recognize. So, having said that, we've got Raida who says something over here. Great,
Uh,
awesome, and real discussion. Thank you, Raida. We don't know how to do it any other way. I think Natalie, when you get to know, that's why I asked Natalie to join me because she's like, what you see is what you get.
yes.
There's no hidden agendas. And I think both of us work brilliantly together. So, Natalie, thank you very much
Thank you.
for facilitating me in this conversation. And
Well, the
thank
fun
you.
part was, I just want to bring that up that very often I'm busy with my daughter, but somehow this aligned where you ask, and I call it, the universe came together and it said, oh, that Saturday you don't have anything. You can do
Which is
this.
very true because usually on Saturdays you are with your daughter. You're right.
Yes. Yeah,
How cool is that?
I know.
So the universe has your back. Anyway,
Yes. Thank
so
you.
ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming in and facilitating this awesome conversation. I'm calling it awesome. I shouldn't be, but
It
thank you.
was awesome.
Okay, I'm awesome. You're awesome. The whole world is awesome.
Yes,
Unless we don't recognize that, other people won't see it too. Very
exactly.
essential.
Yes,
Please
crucial.
recognize your awesomeness so that other people can receive that too as well.
Yeah.
And be open to receiving without any interesting points of views. Drop them. Be vulnerable and courageous. Stroke courageous. Okay. And all I have to say is, I'm very honored and blessed to be working with such incredible women and men who really rock my world and help me to get out of my own way all the time. It helps me to be a better version of myself. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and God bless.
Thank you, everybody. See you soon.
Thank you, Natalie. Thank you. Take care.